Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, we're going to talk about first week of the NBA season takeaways. Bryce and I have each come to the table with three things that we have seen from the first week of NBA action that we want to talk about, and we will discuss whether or not those things will last throughout the course of the entire season or if they will end up falling by the wayside. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown. Bang! Bang! What is this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you doing? We got real NBA basketball. I know we've done this once, but then you and GMAC went live on Thursday, respectfully gave me the night off with some things I had going on, but almost a week's worth of games now. A lot of teams have played twice. Maybe every team's played twice, some three times. So some of the storylines and those type of things are starting to develop here, starting to see what teams are going to look like. Obviously, it's still very early. And so, a lot's going to change, but it's been fun. I've enjoyed it, and college basketball will add themselves to the mix. I know we've had some exhibition games, but they'll really add themselves to the mix, I believe, a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about college basketball as well as the NBA, but really this is an NBA show and we're excited to talk about the NBA. We'll talk draft for sure. You better believe that I was excited to see Darren Peterson just obliterate over the weekend. I mean, that dude is something special, but let's go ahead and talk about what we've seen from this early NBA season. I mean, look, we're going to get into like specific things here, but I think where I most want to start is just, holy shit, has this season been fun so far
already?
Like, it's an unbelievable season to this point. Like, we're not going to talk about the gambling thing today because nothing new is broken. I've kind of given my take. Bryce, I can't imagine that you have a take that you feel like you got to get off your chest.
No, here. I mean, like over the last couple of days, I've just like tried to make sure I had a feel for exactly what they were doing and all of that. But I mean,
seems bad.
It seems bad. I just wanted to make sure I understood exactly like, okay, what is this? Because whenever the illegal gambling thing came out, my first thought was Molly's Game. Have you ever seen that movie? Yeah. And so, but that's not what this was. Like that from my understanding is a little bit more what Gilbert Arenas was doing, not what this illegal gambling, poker, whatever. And then my biggest thing is just, go ahead.
Like side games, like if you can have like a private game at your house.
Yeah. You
just are not allowed to take a rake, which is to say you cannot take like a specific amount of money per hand or per, whatever, right? Because that gets into like the casinos. They're supposed to be the ones that take the rake, but you can hold a private game at your house and just have friends like, basically swapping money between themselves. That's totally okay. And that's like Molly's Game is like the house taking a bit of a rake.
Correct.
At the end of the day.
And then Mafia got tied in eventually and all of that and, whatever. But we don't have to rehash the whole movie. I mean, I guess it's a true story, so it's not just a movie. But, the other part of it, I just find myself, it is interesting to me because there's just such a fine line. Like, obviously, people talk to their friends about like, hey, I'm playing tonight. I'm not playing tonight. Or so-and-so's not playing tonight. It's just, it will be really interesting to see who all gets implicated, where this all goes. If the NBA decides they need to do something about this kind of exchange of information before the betting lines can be moved and all of that. So I don't have a whole lot of thoughts about it, but it is interesting to me.
The key is NBA teams need to be diligent about reporting injuries properly. That's, it doesn't matter if somebody talks like about whatever's going on. If teams just report injuries properly, right? And report them ahead of time and make sure that everyone's on the same page. Like
because
that is
if you are my best friend and I tell you, hey, I actually rolled my ankle at shoot around, I'm not going to play tonight, and then you take that information to someone who's going to abuse it, that information is not useful if my team releases my injury before it can ever get to the third party that's going to abuse it.
Correct. So that's all. We're not going any deeper on the gambling thing today, but what I would say is that this NBA season on the court has been on fire.
Amazing.
Like, I'm sure we will talk about Wemby at some point in what we're about to talk about. But beyond Wemby, even, it feels like every game has something. Like, every single time that one of these teams take the court, I'm fairly interested. The 76ers like Hornets game last night was incredibly fun. Honestly, like, LaMelo takes that terrible shot at the end, but I thought LaMelo played super well.
Okay, so I watched that game. Like I cheat these a little bit because I don't watch games till the next day. Usually, it takes too long to watch games live unless I absolutely have to. So I watched the next day, and I had a game Friday night. But I watched that game, and I had a lot of very positive LaMelo Ball notes, Sam. And even like, man, the energy is actually kind of good defensively. I bet
there were times where he like got on the ground and like really like, went for loose balls and like was like pretty on it. Like, look, I hand up. In the past, I've complained about LaMelo Ball not taking defense seriously, not doing things the right way that impact winning basketball. I've watched the Brooklyn game. I've watched the 76ers game. I have no complaints about LaMelo. The last shot notwithstanding, in the 76ers game, like, doing things the right way to this point this year.
No, I was impressed. It was a fun game. I will just read this. Like, this isn't one of my takeaways, but the stars are shining. So just real quick, and this won't be updated by the time everybody listens, or this won't be up to date. Luka's averaging 46 a game right now. Shea's averaging 40, including two double overtime games or something. Ant's at 36. Giannis 34. Maxey 34. Steph 33. Victor 33. Donovan Mitchell 33. Zach LaVine over 30. Kevin Durant at 30. Şengün at 28. Zion is at 27. The stars are being stars, and we're getting really, really good basketball, Sam.
That's exactly right. I mean, even like Chet Holmgren last night goes for 31 and 11 and like completely balled out. The Bucks Raptors game that I watched, Giannis goes for 30 and 20 and is unbelievable in that game. I thought, you can look at like Donovan Mitchell played super well against the Nets, and like I keep, talking about the Nets, right? But I think that Keyshawn George has been like a really fun thing for Washington, right?
He's good. We pegged him defensively from Summer League. I'm not sure I was ready for the year 2 Keyshawn George offensive explosion.
I think we talked about that a lot at Summer League, that like he looked like a real breakout guy. We definitely had him on breakout players for this year. I know. Yeah,
but I think my big thing was more like I thought I would really loved his defense. I didn't know I was expecting him to be averaging 20 plus, again, start of the season. We don't have to say it every time. He's at 27 and a half right now, shooting the lights out, averaging 10 rebounds. I mean, the dude has been incredible.
Yeah. So here's where I want to start. So let's just get into takeaways.
Okay.
Right. So my first takeaway here is one thing you and I have talked about a lot coming into the season at Summer League, in the finals last year, everything, is that teams are playing more aggressively.
Sure.
In terms of pickup points, and by that I mean where the defense is picking up the ball handlers, they come up the court, right? Yep. Teams are getting more aggressive. They're getting trying to pick up teams higher up the court. The idea being that you slow down the initiation of the offense. You can slow down transition play somewhat by that. Basically, you're trying to slow the other team down. I think that one of my takeaways is definitely that more teams are doing this throughout the course of the year. Like Milwaukee generally throughout the past has played incredibly conservatively on defense. When Ryan Rollins is in, like Ryan Rollins is regularly picking up guys like in the backcourt or at half court, which is something they just like never really did previously, in part because of their personnel with Brook Lopez, right? I think that teams are doing this more. But where I'm at on it actually is I'm going to be really interested to see how easy it is for teams to counter it now that they know that it's coming, right? And eventually we're going to have to see what the push-pull is going to be on, okay, cool. We are slowing down teams from initiating offense. We're slowing down teams from getting out into semi-transition potentially. Is that on a points per possession basis helping us more than when teams start setting, super high step up screens at half court or, at the, 2/3 court mark, wherever you want to say it, like 60 feet from the rim, right? Is that worth the disadvantage that we're giving our half court defense by forcing potentially our big or somebody else, depending on if we're pre-switching, what we're doing, and forcing our defense to play with 4 players in more space, essentially getting into like a 4-on-4 with like the screener and the man that's being screened trailing the play now, right?
Yep.
As teams are starting to figure this out, I even see it like a little bit already. Like I saw it in the Milwaukee game against Toronto, for instance, a team that we've talked a lot about with pickup points, making sure that they pick up very high up the court. Are teams going to be able to continue to do this? Because, and I'll stop talking after this and explain a little bit later, but like, it's really hard to do this. Like if you're a defense, you have to be so on point with your rotations and you have to be so active and aggressive defensively. Like Indiana has a lot of defenders like Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, Pascal Siakam, even like Miles Turner can do this for a big. Like he can move around and they really scramble around well and they're athletic and they're able to like fly around and do the 4-on-4.5 stuff whenever they are in transition defense, right? Oklahoma City, same thing. They're so athletic and they're so good at scrambling around defensively. I think some of the teams that I've seen doing this so far are not quite as good at scrambling around defensively. And we're seeing adverse effects a little bit in terms of the way that's working. Do you have any thoughts on like the pickup points being as high as we've seen?
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we are seeing it. We talked about it all last year. We talked about the finals. We talked about it at Summer League, as you mentioned, and it has come to fruition this year. What I'm a little bit surprised is teams, I want to watch and see how deliberate teams are with who they ask to do it. Because I think this is to your point. You can't just ask any of your players to do this. And you're eventually going to wear guys down or put them in a bad place if you continually ask them to do it. And that's not really the best part of their game. And so I'm interested to watch that. How many teams can do it effectively? And do they really just hone in like, okay, we're going to ask this lineup to do it, but with this lineup, we're definitely not going to do it. But I think it's more so the other side. I think it shows a lot offensively, just in terms of the players that can handle this at the point, the Spurs. And again, we go to the Nets. Spurs and Nets are playing today. Dylan Harper was giving Jaeger Dimon some fits today, picking him up before the half court line. And so I think it is a way to figure out like, are guys ready for this or are they not? And then also offensively, what kind of creative things can we do? Which teams have bigs who can handle the ball, which other teams' bigs usually aren't as, apt at being able to do this successfully. So can I give my big the ball and dribble the ball up the floor with him and kind of alleviate this? Because you can't just switch on that. Now you're all sorts of cross match and everything's messed up. So I am interested in terms of the chess match between teams, the offensive and defensive side. And then is there an evolution defensively to this? Do we ever see a run and jump eventually from a defense where it's not just kind of a full court pickup, but we're actually going to run at you in trap, or we're going to run at you? I don't think you can run at an NBA player from the front and let him make a decision. Just all of these things have evolutions. And does the offense eventually figure out how they're going to beat it? And does the defense have something they can stack on top of it? But it is kind of cool to see it play out after it was something we talked about for 6 months and kind of across the league. The Pistons are playing as we record this, and they just forced a turnover, Sam, right before we started, Asar Thompson picks up after a free throw make, and the Celtics throw it out of bounds. So teams are seeing benefits and rewards from it. It will just be good to track who's good at it, who isn't, who has to limit it. Is there an evolution? And then how can offenses use this to their advantage to create easier opportunities?
I think that's really right. I think that is like truly, truly right at this point. And I'm fascinated to see where it goes. Like I am genuinely really interested to see, are there certain teams that start playing a little bit more conservatively?
Yeah.
Do teams decide, and do the numbers bear out? And I'd imagine this will be team by team, but there could be like a league-wide trend. But do the numbers bear out that by picking up higher up the court, the differential that you're getting from transition and semi-transition point per possession numbers in terms of your defensive rating are just better than what you're giving away in the half court at the end of the day, right? Is there a certain point for NBA teams, for every NBA team, where they should be picking up the court? Is there a way to like blitz certain teams by picking them up higher up the court when certain players are in the lineup versus lower up the court whenever certain teams are in the lineup? You brought up the Demon example. Like Jaeger Demon hasn't taken a 2-point jumper this year because he can't get by anybody at this point. So it makes a ton of sense to me that if you're the San Antonio Spurs and you have Dylan Harper out there, just blitz Jaeger and like make him really struggle to bring the ball up the court.
Here's another thing. This is a little longer term, but if this sticks, right, and this becomes more of a full court defensive league, even for a handful of years, right? Like we know this league goes in cycles in regards to some things. How does that affect us as draft analysts, Sam? How many guys
I've been thinking about that a little bit too.
How many guys are we watching in college basketball or overseas or whatever? And do we bump 5 spots on our board because we go, you know what? This team, the Toronto Raptors, are going to value him because he is willing and able to pick up full court. And then that plays right into something we've been talking about for 18 months is ground coverage. If you're going to guard 90 whatever feet, then you have to have guys that can cover ground. And now it's not just laying to the 3-point line and contest a shot. It's from one side of the floor, diagonal turn and sprint to the other side of the court. Can you stop, close out, change direction? It just, it will, if it sticks, it will change how we evaluate players and how we value certain ones that have those skill sets on the defensive end or offensively, taking advantage of that with however these offenses figure that aspect out.
At the very least for certain teams.
Correct.
Right?
Probably not
at
all
the very least for certain teams, right? And they're going to, like Toronto right now, if I am them, like I can't take anybody who can't cover an immense amount of ground. That's the reality. Like they need guys who can really, really deal with oceans of space, given how high they are picking up on the court. And that's like, I'm not saying that Toronto is a team that I don't like what they're doing. I actually do like what they're doing from an identity perspective and from what they're thinking that this could lead to, but they need to adjust their team building strategy in line with that and not take guys that aren't able to do this.
Well, I think they're a perfect example here because to me, what that says is if this is really their identity, this is really what they want to lean into. When they go get their number one option, which I think they still need. Now, maybe Scotty Barnes proves me wrong and he goes out and is that guy this year. That might change who you target to be that guy, right? Like you want a guy that's going to be able to do those things. That's not, very, I don't know. I don't want to say stiff defensively, but doesn't want to cover ground, won't lean into this, can't even at least play on the back end of this type of defensive coverage. You don't want to be limited for 34 minutes a night because your best player can't do this whatsoever. I'm not saying it has to be a guy that's at the front doing the Jamal Shed things, but he has to be a guy that would, an SGA that values, hey, I can play center field, jump a passing lane, those type of things. I'm not saying they're going to go get SGA on offense, but it might eliminate some number one options they would want to pursue and bump some other number one options they might want to trade for. So it's really cool to talk through. It's really cool to see whenever these type of things come into the league and then how all of the adjustments start to happen.
That's right. Before we get to your first takeaway, let's shout out our friends over at Mizzen Main. You know the saying, if you look good, you're going to feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp, but they're stiff, they're hot, they're high maintenance. You have to take them to the dry cleaner. That's going to make it hard to actually feel comfortable. It's going to make you wear those clothes just less often, right? That's why I'm such a fan of Mizzen Main, because Mizzen Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and to feel great. I've been wearing Mizzen Main since before they even sponsored the show. I wear it to go golfing. Like, the pants are just so comfortable. They are amazing. The performance fabric dress shirt is what Mizzen Main actually invented over 10 years ago. And since then, they've perfected it with modern fabrics. And like, I can just speak from experience. These modern fabrics do make a difference when you have to wear dress clothes to certain events. For me, it does tend to be on the golf course. But, you know, if you're going to a wedding, if you're going to different things, you can absolutely wear Mizzen Main and look sharp and feel good. When you put the clothes on, you will feel the difference instantly. It's professional style that's actually comfortable, whether you're in the office, on the road, or even out on said golf course. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com. Promo code GAME20. That's Mizzen, spelled Mizzen, and Main, MAIN.com. Promo code GAME20 for 20% off. That's Mizzen and Main. Promo code GAME20. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states. We're also going to shout out Momentous here. Most supplements are a guessing game. You never know what's in them, or even if they're tested for label accuracy. That's why I trust Momentous. Their creatine is NSF certified for label transparency and trusted by pro athletes. So I know I'm getting the best. Creatine isn't just for muscle gains. It's essential daily fuel for your brain, body, and long-term performance. Like I've said in the past, like, I have ADHD. I can really struggle with focus. I can struggle with trying to get the right things into my body in order to retain the focus that I need to do my job. Creatine is absolutely something that is helpful in that regard. And it does help for long-term performance as well. Every batch that Momentous makes is independently tested for purity, safety, and label accuracy. It is NSF certified for sport. That's why it's trusted by Olympic athletes, pro teams, and others. Their travel packs now have a lemon flavor. Make staying consistent effortless. They're naturally flavored, perfectly portioned, and easy to mix with water anytime, anywhere. With Momentous, you can just trust this. The fundamentals are done right. They have over 2,000 5-star reviews. They have 112,000 customers that have seen the results firsthand. And right now, Momentous is offering our listeners 35% off your first subscription order with promo code GAME. Go to livemomentous, LIVEMOMENTOUS.com and use that promo code GAME for up to 35% off your first subscription order. That's livemomentous.com, promo code GAME. Okay, Bryce, this is fun because I have no idea what your first takeaway is. We have not shared these ahead of time.
No, so this is probably my most boring of them, but I had to make sure we got it in there. Victor Wembanyama is not only the number 5 guy in this MVP race that we've been talking about, that we mentioned 4 names. Victor Wembanyama is right in the middle of those other 4 names. And so you told me, hey, we're doing our takeaways, maybe slight overreactions, and then discussing how it may continue throughout the season. Victor is unbelievable. He is unreal right now. And I can't, like, what he's doing, scoring the basketball, and this emphasis not to step out and shoot a bunch of threes. He's at under 4 per game right now while averaging those 33 points. I think this is updated after the game on Sunday. 13 plus rebounds, 6 blocks. We know everything he does on the defensive end, but I think there's been a different mindset for Victor on the offensive end. This is the exact type of season, and right now it's just a start to the season, that won't just put him as that number 5 guy that we talked about. We talked about Jokic, Shea, Giannis, and Luka as the top 4 guys, and who would be the number 5 guy. He's not just the the +1 as number 5. He is firmly in the conversation with those guys.
So I did not end up doing this as a takeaway, but one thing that I kind of had an idea of saying was that by the end of the season, Victor Wembanyama is not just going to be, potentially the MVP, but we might be looking at him as this is the best player in the world.
Yeah.
I think there's a real distinct possibility based on what we've seen in the first week. He has clearly taken a jump, and it's not just the numbers, right? Again, today, absolutely an outstanding basketball game from Wemby. He ends up going for 31-14, 3 steals, 6 blocks. And I don't know how you felt, but to me, it just felt like his impact was felt on every single possession on both ends of the court. And he got to the line 15 times today. That feels like slightly different. He had 4 assists, which we've seen from him in the past. He's actually really developed into being a pretty strong high-level passer. But it's just the way that he's creating these shots. It's the way that he's able to get into the lane. It's the way that he's able to actually physically move players now. The last couple of years, he was not able to move guys. And whenever somebody would stand him up at the point of attack, he would have to pick up his dribble and then kind of pass the ball out and maybe go get it again. And it would kind of waste time on the shot clock. It would kind of limit what San Antonio was trying to do offensively. It would get stagnant. His ability now to take contact when somebody uses their chest and just walls up against him and bumps him, and then keep his dribble and then counter directly off of it, or just go out and reset himself and then just attack again and get a little bit of space and go directly to the rim. Given his stride length and given his ability to actually get into the interior of the defense now, because he has that ability to play through contact, it completely and totally changes what he's capable of every single time that he takes the court. It's unbelievable to watch this dude right now. I think that he looks like I agree with you. He is a very serious, very real MVP candidate. And I do think that there is a chance that by the end of the year, we just look at Wemby and go, oh no, this era has actually started. This is the best player in the NBA now.
Sam, do you know how many threes Victor took per game last season?
It was 8, wasn't it?
8.8. He's at 3.7 this season. I haven't been able to so this season he is averaging 18 2-point attempts per game with 10 free throw attempts. Last year he averaged less than 10 2-point attempts and 4 free throw attempts. Yeah. There's just a conscious decision made by Victor that the 3-pointer is going to be the highlight play, which he had today right before halftime.
Which
I think
I want to talk about that. Yeah.
He had and you tweeted one out from, I think, the first game they played, but that started defensively. I think he had a block, then there was a pass made, he had another block, and then he came down in transition and hit a 3. Those are the things that end up on Twitter and Blue Sky and wherever else. But it is all of these other plays, the 18 2-point attempts, the 10 free throws. And then here's the other thing. He has 2 total turnovers on the season. This is a guy who averaged over 3 last year. He's just playing at an elite level right now. And I find myself just going, what is going to stop him? What if he does this? To your point earlier, what is my argument for him not being the most dominant player in the NBA 6 months from now? And so he has arrived. He already had, but we weren't talking about him in this way. He has truly elevated his game. I think a lot of us expected him to elevate his game, But once you see it with your own eyes, it's really impressive. And I can't overstate his self-reflection this offseason to say, I'm not going to be a 9-10 3-point a game guy. I'm going to be a guy that pressures. I love where he's getting the ball, how he's attacking. I think the Spurs team in general, my first couple of years, I hated his first couple of years. I hated watching them not throw lobs to him. It didn't seem like they fully understood they were playing with a dude that's 7'5" and has this just crazy, room for air. They throw him lobs all the time. He's leaning into it. It's incredible. It's so incredible.
So they're 3-0 right now. And De'Aaron Fox obviously is not played, right? I'm wondering if when De'Aaron comes back, we do start to see him like pick and pop a little bit more. Sure. Because De'Aaron will try and get to the rim, downhill. And De'Aaron's so fast and so good at getting downhill that I wonder if that will kind of play up and play out a little bit more. I think that the thing I wanted to say about the 3-pointers though, is he's picking and choosing the spots.
Yes.
Like he'll have a big block. And I think that mentally he feels in the momentum that, okay, that was a momentum shifter. Let's go bury a 3 and get the crowd rolling. Right. And then it'll feel like an avalanche, like the snowball's rolling down the hill, picking up snow, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if I can do that, I can really get us like into a big moment. Basically, I can feel every time that he has like a big momentum shifting block. If he catches an outlet, he's going to pull up and take a 3 is what it feels like to me. And it's a smart strategy. Like he's picking and choosing the right situations. And to me, what that says is that Victor's always been a guy, even when he was way younger, that like had the mentality of being a star and understanding what it would take, understanding that he had to be humble and figure things out, but having that like moment, that understanding of the moment kind of too, right? He's even developing it further and further and further and quicker, I guess, than what I expected. I figured we'd be here by like year 5 with Wemby. No. We are here like in the games, like the first initial games of year 3. He is, to your point, I think that you put it perfectly. I mean, look, through the first week, he's the MVP, like no questions asked, but I think it's here to stay is what I would argue. I've seen nothing that makes me question that.
I think that's ultimately where I was at as well, is like when you say it, like maybe it sounded like a hot take or not hot take. No, I don't think it was a hot take, but maybe an overreaction. My argument was going to be, I believe this is who he is. And it may not be like straight up, what is the average? 33 and 13. And he's probably not going to stay at 6 blocks all year. But I also want to emphasize that he's averaging more defensive rebounds alone than total rebounds per game last season. So there's even a more of an emphasis, and this isn't the same minutes per game. It's actually 0.4 less. So it's not like I wasn't able to do per 100 because it wasn't updated on NBA.com at time of recording. But there's even an emphasis on the boards, just on the defensive end too. Like I'm going to finish defensive possessions. A guy that we're already predicting to win multiple DPOYs has now also decided to invest even more in finishing the possessions where there's a missed shot. I'm so impressed by the mindset because it's easy. It would be easy for Victor Wembanyama to look at what he did in year 2 and just say, yeah, I'll just go do that again. I'll go be, like I was really good. People were already talking about me top 5, as the 5th guy on the outside of these other 4. And he said, no. I want greatness. I want to be the best, not one of the best. And I'm not saying he's that yet, but to me, before the season, we talked about this group of 4. And I don't think we will spend the rest of the season not talking about a group of 5 unless there is an injury to one of those 5.
I think that's right. Okay. Next up, we are going to go with this one.
I'm fascinated to see if you take one of mine.
The rookie class as a whole.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Is much more ready to play than what I expected entering the 2026 season. Bryce, what is your takeaway?
My number 2 was, and I was actually going to skip it, so I actually have a couple others as well. The rookie class is deep with an exclamation point. And it was going to essentially be this. Like, we are getting some really good performances early in the season from the rookie class. And it's not just Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, the guys at the top. I watched the Cedric Coward game today where he knocked down, 5 or 6 threes or whatever. So I know we're about to talk about all of them, but I had the same thought.
Yeah, I mean, like, we'll remove Cooper here for a second.
Yeah, sure.
I'll talk about that in a second. They're trash fire.
Correct.
Dylan Harper today goes for 28 and 6 and was awesome on defense and is ready to go from the jump. Right? Just straight up, that dude is ready to go. Cedric Coward goes for 27 last night, drills 6 threes without missing a 3. Looked great on both ends, I thought. Con Knippel so far, averaging 12 and a half, 4 rebounds, shooting 60-50. Only made 50% of his free throws, but like, he's not taking many of them, whatever.
No, he's shooting 53-60. He's shooting 60 from 3.
Yeah, he's shooting 60 from 3. He has been awesome so far. Trey Johnson, I think, has been really good. Yeah. He's made 50% of his, he's like 50-50, 100 on 16 and a half points a game with 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Every time I watch him, I'm like, this guy looks like he belongs and looks like a real, like, polished NBA scorer right now. I will see where it goes, but right now I think he looks quite good. Jeremiah Fears is averaging 15.
Yeah.
And while I am a little bit worried about what the efficiency will look like as the season continues, he's looked very comfortable handling the ball. And again, like the jersey says, 0 fears is the reality with Jeremiah Fears. Yegor has been more hit or miss for me, but coming into today, he was 7-11 from 3. He still hasn't taken a 2-point jumper because he can't get into the lane, but is making threes, which is valuable, right? Like, I think Walter Clayton has looked pretty solid in my opinion.
Sam, my notes on him every time I watch, I think I've watched 1 preseason game, 1 regular season game, is like, he just has translated everything he did in college and then is now doing it on an NBA floor. And that's kind of the best compliment I can give him. And obviously he's not, he's one of the best players in college basketball. He's not one of the best players in the NBA, but he just looks very much under control, very patient, all of that. I'm just like, he looks like an NBA player and he's doing the little things. He came in, grabbed a weak side defensive board the other day. And I think he tried to take a charge maybe in one of the games. He's been good. He's been very good.
I think that's right. Ryan Kalkbrenner has been really good so far for the Charlotte Hornets. He's averaging 12 and 9. And every time I watch him, I'm just like, yep, that looks like an NBA center. Looks like he belongs at the end of the day, right? We haven't even gotten to VJ Edgecombe yet, who had the monster opener. I thought looked pretty solid in the second game as well. 24 and a half, 6.5, 5.5 through his 2 games. I think those will come down, but like, has looked incredible and looks every bit like Philadelphia should be ecstatic with their number 3 overall pick. I thought Derek Queen's game against San Antonio was quite good. He had like 15 in that game. I thought he looked pretty active and looked, like a very skilled basketball player at the end of the day. And then finally, like, Cooper is being played out of position and it's driving me like completely insane. I feel like I am just like losing my mind watching Dallas and, look, we might get to Dallas here in a minute because holy shit. But I like when I watch Cooper, especially in the second half of the Washington game, I thought he really settled in and started to figure things out in a way that I was excited to view. To see him kind of calm down, kind of bring his game into what he's capable of being and get to his spots a little bit more comfortably than what we've seen. It's just that they're not creating any easy shots for him, but is what it is. This rookie class has a lot of dudes that I think there should be a pretty reasonable and real amount of excitement about, especially compared to last season. I feel like last season almost like made me forget that rookies can step in and be okay. Right. Even accounting for the 2 games so far, there are only 5 players from the 2024 NBA draft that are averaging double figure points right now in their careers. Look, we are 2 games into most of these guys' careers, so you don't want to like overstate it. There are 10 currently from the 2025 class. I would imagine that number will come down a little bit. I didn't even mention Asa Newell. I think Asa Newell's been like pretty active and engaged defensively, particularly. Like he's been able to use that athleticism to his advantage so far. But the rookie class, shout out the rookie class. We talked about the fact that like we really like the top end of this class, and we thought that, you know, it might take some time for some of these other guys, but we thought VJ could step in pretty early and help. We thought that Con Knipple would step in pretty early and be very competent and very good. So far has been good. And, you know, even somebody like Will Richard's playing real minutes for the Golden State Warriors and looks like he belongs out there.
I was hoping you weren't going to say his name so I could be the one that dropped it. So I'm going to have to say Javon Small, because I watched a Memphis game today and he's getting, you know, time with Memphis with the injuries to Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. Morant played today, so he's playing backup point guard. But Sam, that Warriors team trusts Will Richard. I don't know what happens when Moody gets healthy and, you know, all of that, but there was one where he was ISO'd against, I don't remember what game it was, but he got ISO'd against the other team's center. He threw the ball to Draymond like, hey, I'm not supposed to do this. And Draymond threw it right back to him like, no, go to work, young man. And they throw him the ball without hesitation. He gets big rebounds. You know, he has to knock down shots for that team. You know, 38%. Obviously, all of this is small sample size. But every Warriors game I've watched, I'm just like, they play him, and I don't think it's easy to build trust on the Golden State Warriors with Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy Butler. And it looks like Will Richard has been able to do that. So shout out Will Richard. I'm not going to say much on VJ because he's going to be part of my next takeaway. So Cedric Howard was really good. Every time I watch Cedric Howard, I'm like, he just looks like an NBA wing. He is massive and he is long and he moves out there like an NBA wing. I've been so impressed with Dylan Harper's defense. Going back to the breakdown I did for the Substack, Fears gets to the lane at will. We'll see if teams start playing off of him and daring him to shoot. I feel like that's probably the next adjustment on scouting reports. And Ryan Kalkbrenner, like you said, he just looks like a guy that screens, play finishes, and can test shots at the rim. I don't know if that's a long-term starting center, but it's a center in this league. I haven't finished the game, as I mentioned.
By the way, like, go ahead.
I was just saying, Hugo Gonzalez was doing some interesting things for Boston in this game against Detroit, specifically defensively.
Well, Charlotte, I was going to say, like, we didn't even mention Sion James. Sion has been really good on defense, or at least like active and engaged on defense, and has just like made the right decisions every time he's out on the court, right? So this rookie class, like, there were guys in it that we liked, like there were guys in it that we thought would be helpful early on, and that is kind of bearing itself out. But I think it's even better than what I thought at the top end of the group. I think that Trey Johnson's probably going to average like 16 to 18 points a game based off of what I've seen. Cedric Howard, like, was my guy. Like, look, Cedric Howard, I don't know if I could have gone harder for Cedric Howard pre-draft than I did. And I ended up with him right around where they took him. I think I ended up with him like 8 or 9 on my board. And, you know, look, he's shooting the shit out of the ball, and like, he's not going to shoot 75% from 3 throughout the rest of his career. But I do think he's a 40% 3-point shooter. And I think that he's super long and is active on defense and can do some things, right? So I am just very, very excited by this group. And like last year, I dreaded doing rookie rankings on The Athletic. Like, we did fewer of them than we did previously throughout the year, just because, like, honestly, I struggled with that rookie.
All rookie was tough, right? All rookie was really hard
to do. It was hard to get to 10 that like were worth it. This year, I think there will be more than 10 that I will like struggle to put on all rookie. And on top of it, I think that what I'm like a little bit, I'm genuinely excited to do rookie rankings now.
Sure.
Like throughout the year, like we will do them, you know, at the end of the first month, like in mid-November or whatever. And I will be excited to do them now based off of what we've seen.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Ace Bailey hasn't even got it going. I mean, that's another guy that could get it. I think we both expect to get in the
great
mix
in the preseason and then had the knee thing.
The tendonitis stuff, right? Is that right?
Yeah, killed the momentum, it felt like.
And I think I heard that he was sick, maybe, dealing with an illness early in the season. And so, like, to be clear, I'm not necessarily worried about Ace Bailey. I just want to reiterate, we have hyped this class through the first week, and that's not with Ace Bailey out here making a bunch of shots and getting open looks in this Utah Jazz offensive scheme. So that's just another guy that at some point is going to play his name into this mix as well.
Okay. You are up with takeaway number 4.
So this is the ultimate one for me. Really, the next two are this way. Of my two that I felt really good about was the two that we've mentioned. So the Victor thing and then the rookie class. The next two for me, I'm interested for us to talk through. Do we think it stays? And that is Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe are the next backcourt in the NBA. This is the most exciting, intriguing, young backcourt in the NBA right now. Because Tyrese Maxey is 24 years old, through 2 games is averaging 34, 4 rebounds, 7.5 assists. VJ Edgecombe, who is 20 and has only played 2 career games, is averaging 24.5, 46, 38, 6.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, couple steals. And between those two guys, they're shooting 17 threes a game, shooting at a good rate. And I just was like, is this real or not? So this is the first one for me where I'm like, I don't think VJ is going to shoot. Like, I don't know if he stays at 25 points a game for his rookie season, but Tyrese Maxey has looked incredible going back to the preseason. That dude is a nightmare to try to guard.
Yeah.
VJ is a nightmare in transition. He can do it with the ball in his hands or being the guy that gets out and runs. I just find myself very intrigued by this young backcourt. Is this real? Are they the next exciting backcourt?
So to speak to Maxey first, he's a guy that we talked a lot about, first time all NBA guys, right? Yeah. And I feel like Maxey's name didn't come up once realistically in that conversation for us. And based off the way he's playing right now, if they are able to kind of keep it together, the 76ers, I don't know, man. That he feels like one of the guys that's going to be first team or not first team, but will be a first time all NBA player based off of the first week, right? The speed is totally back.
It's
that's the big thing with me. Not even back. It might look better than it's ever looked.
Sure.
He looks faster, certainly than he did last year, but maybe faster than he's ever looked before. And on top of it, obviously he's shooting the shit out of it. He's not going to shoot 60% from 3 throughout the entire season, but he's blending the passing in a real way. He has a 5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio right now, 7.5 assists per game. It's just that he's collapsing defenses at will. It feels like to me, this almost feels like it's, I'm going to say this name. People are going to freak the fuck out, but whatever. It feels like a little bit of when Ja Morant was just able to collapse defenses at will, and Ja's still doing it. I'm not sitting here saying that he can't do it, but the sheer speed, Tyrese doesn't have the explosive leaping ability that Ja does to be able to finish at the rim, but he does have the floater as a counter.
And Ja doesn't have the 3-pointer that Maxey has that pairs really nicely with that speed.
Exactly right. Tyrese has the 3-point shot that makes it almost impossible to guard when he's kind of really rolling like this. So look, Tyrese, I don't think he's going to average 34 points a game this year, but Tyrese has been one of my big takeaways early on. That dude looks completely back and looks like he is really ready to go this year and looks like he's a potential first team. No, I'm sorry. Looks like a potential first time all NBA player this year.
I mean, they're doing it. Jared McCain's still not playing. Paul
That's
George
crazy. We're bringing up like the next big backcourt in the NBA, and Jared McCain was like, in the minutes that he played last year, probably the best rookie.
So
right?
Yes, and so that's what I was getting. I almost morphed this into, but he hasn't played, so I couldn't do it. Is this trio like the next? Is this the trio that we are talking about in terms of perimeter players? Is this going to be the perimeter trio that 5 years from now is, pushing? Obviously, they have to build out the rest of the roster. 5 years from now, Joel's not going to be there. Obviously, Paul George isn't going to be there. We'll see. But what makes me excited about this duo is Paul George hasn't played. McCain hasn't played. Embiid is only playing 20 minutes a night. I think the game I didn't watch, he was bad. The game I did watch, he actually, in his minutes, he was still very productive and has gravity and all of that. But this is being led by the Maxey Edgecombe backcourt. And they've been good. Maxey has been one of the best players in the league, and VJ has been the best rookie in the league. And you have a backcourt that shoots it like that. VJ is very disruptive defensively. I think projects as a very good defender. So I think in that way you can make it work when you neither of these guys is 6'6" or 6'7" or something like that. But I think VJ is going to be a very good defender. They can both pass. I mean, that's the thing with VJ. The video I did for the Substack, I highlighted how VJ being able to lead the break allows the Tyrese to get out and run, and him to be the recipient of a kick ahead, catch and shoot 3-point attempt, or VJ initiates offense. So now you're running a Joel Maxey off ball action before the ball even touches their hands, and you create an advantage before Maxey ever even gets the ball. What I've watched between those two guys right now, I do really like that pairing. Obviously, they're making shots and all of that. We'll see how it plays out, but I've really liked the way those two looked.
And the big thing for me is that Maxey is making VJ's life easier.
Yes.
Because he's the one that's creating everything. Because if you remember pre-draft, what my worry with VJ was, and I say this worry, like I saw him fourth on my board, right? Like my worry was, what is VJ as an on-ball creator, yep. Right? Can he consistently make pull-up jumpers, right? So in the first game, he took like literally 0 pull-up threes, right? Because, didn't need to. He consistently found open threes off the catch. He is still not taking a pull-up 3 through, I believe, 2 games tracked on Synergy so far.
Perfect. He shouldn't be.
Well, this would be my point, though. I agree with you right now. He shouldn't be, but to be that great player,
eventually
next time,
he needs to.
He does need to at some point. And then pull-up jumpers, he went 2 for 5 in the first game, and then went 0 for 2 in the second game on mid-range pull-up jumpers, right? So that's the next evolution for VJ. It needs the pull-up jumper to really come through, and he's never been great at that. So, look, my comparison for VJ coming into the draft was Gary Harris with a jetpack. That's the role he's been playing so far. He is a way more like competent, athletic player defensively and offensively than Gary Harris. And like that allows him to put a little bit more pressure on the rim as a cutter. It allows him to consistently make catch and shoot threes, much like Harris did, and to be an even better defensive player in a lot of ways. So, when I say that name, I think people freaked out. Like Gary Harris is probably a top 50-ish player in the league when he was with Denver and everything, and like was really, really good. I'm saying that I think VJ is going to be like at his ceiling, probably like a top 30-ish guy in the league, probably, if you made me bet. I love him. I think he's been awesome to this point. But that's the next step, is he needs to go from not being just Gary Harris with a jetpack to being able to weaponize the athleticism he has by making pull-up jumpers, which
sure
he just hasn't done throughout his career, even going back to high school. So that's my kind of view on him through early season. I love this. Like he can be a monster valuable player playing the role he's playing right now and being incredibly useful. The next step to be an all-star and, kind of make this, kind of prediction come true is the pull-up jumper to me. Like he has to be able to make some pull-up shots at some point in his career.
Yeah, I think to maximize who he is as a player, to hit the ceiling, however you want to say it, I agree. I just don't mind that in his rookie season, if this is kind of what he's being asked to do in this role, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, let him find this success and impact on your team, and then come back in year 2 and let's start adding this, other aspect to your game that helps you reach another level.
Yep. Okay. Should we talk about the other backcourts that would have a case for this? Because I think that's where people are going to melt down, by the way.
So I wonder, I didn't know if we needed to,
like, whatever you think the Spurs backcourt of the future is, right? Like De'Aaron Fox, Steph Castle, Dylan Harper. Like if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be like, oh yeah, like that's the one that I would point to, right? Oklahoma City, like what do you call Jalen Williams? Probably more of a wing, right? Like not quite like he'll never really be a 2 for them. I don't think, given their roster.
I realize the age thing there. Like I truly get it, but it's like they're NBA champions. I was thinking more of like, just like, not that level of player, or not that level of winning. The Spurs backcourt is one I would think of. It's like if Detroit had the second guy, along with Cade Cunningham, a team like that. If Charlotte had,
like with Garland and Mitchell, but Mitchell is like well and truly into his career now. You know what I mean? Like that's not next. That is literally right now.
Yeah. Like even the Pacers, where like they were just in the finals last year with Tyrese and Nembhard. I wasn't even thinking like overtaking them. It was just like they're the next one that jumps into the, into the group of great backcourts. And, like, do they surpass whatever LaMelo Ball and whoever, Cade Cunningham and whoever? I was trying to look through some of the other teams that maybe, like I'm not considering Luka and Austin Reeves for this. Like those are more veteran, a little bit older than, the Maxey VJ idea, I guess. Scoot and Shaden, I guess, if Portland fans wanted to try and make an argument. Houston's would be, a Min and whoever, like if you wanted to argue a Min and Reed, those were kind of that's kind of what I was thinking, more so anybody who's like truly established with like deep playoff runs and all NBA finishes and all of that.
Okay. My final takeaway here. The Dallas Mavericks will be the first team this season to have a players only meeting, because what the fuck is going on? Like they are 0-2. They lost by 30 to San Antonio. I don't even know that one's all that bad. Like looking at how San Antonio has played. And honestly, like it got out of hand in the fourth and like near the end of the third, but they played like 2.5 fairly competitive quarters, right? The game against the Wizards, the first 3 quarters of that game were like abominable to me. They were unconscionably bad. I thought it was actually really hard to watch. I thought they had no synergy on offense. They had so much stagnation. It feels like to me the most complicated action that I've seen them run through 2 games is like at the end of the first, or at the start of the second half in the game against San Antonio, they ran like 2 down screens for Cooper to curl off of to be able to get into the mid-range for a jumper to make a shot. And it's just like, okay, every NBA team does this. This is a quick hitter play to try and get somebody loose. What are we doing? There's just like if you're going to play this bully ball, big style of basketball, you need to be so intentional in how you run actions and get guys loose and run cross screens and baseline screens and try to get mismatches and try to create the right mismatches that you want. And there has been none of that to this point, to where you have Cooper like running the point a good amount of the time. Like he's not the only one running the point. Like it's not just his show. But the bigger issue for me with Cooper is not that he can't like bring the ball up the court. He's been fine at it. Like I have no problem with it. He's had a couple moments where he struggled to initiate. Like there was one play against San Antonio where like he was trying to initiate like a high post entry at the top of the key to Anthony Davis, and they overplayed it. And I think Wemby like caught a deflection and ended up being like a run out for Castle or whatever. But like, I think it's been fine for him initiating. It's more that nothing is easy. Like I can't remember him getting a shot that he didn't have to self-create, and that was like a easy shot for him, right? Get him on like a baseline cut because somebody's overplaying him. Get him, on a 45 cut. He's such a good cutter. He's such a good off-ball mover that I feel like by playing him as often as they are, like on the ball and asking him to initiate, it's thrown his rhythm off first and foremost to me. And then second, it has kind of neutered a lot of his value, because the other piece of it is we love Cooper as like an offensive rebounder, right? Like he is so good at reading the ball off the glass, but because he is essentially playing point, and because they have Lively, they have Anthony Davis, they have like, even PJ Washington out there a decent amount of time, guys like that. Like he's just not really doing that and not creating a ton of opportunity for himself. So they are by far the team that I've enjoyed watching the least in the NBA. They look so messy and so stagnant and just so all over the place that I really, really can't. And look, they play in an hour or whatever. This will go up on Monday morning, but like they play in an hour. Maybe, it looks better after a home game against Toronto, but like, dude, Toronto like is a tough team for them to play, is my read going into this, because Toronto is going to get into their shit and really like cause them problems initiating offense, and really going to pick up high on the court to kind of tie together, the first thing I talked about. And now this, they're going to pick up like Cooper really high up the court. They're going to pick up whoever brings the ball really high up the court. And I think Dallas right now, based off of what I've seen, is probably the team least equipped to handle that, because they're not running a lot of great action, and they don't have like guys that are getting past defenders and getting penetration, and are not able to take advantage of the like scrambling nature that can happen if you set ball screens high up the court and then you get guys loose, and then you're able to kind of roll that way. So like, look, I think that right now this is a particularly difficult team for Dallas to play. If you made me bet, maybe I'll be wrong. And maybe when this goes up, Dallas fans can come in my mentions and call me stupid, and that'll be fine. But I would guess that this is an exceedingly difficult team for them to deal with right now.
95.2 offensive rating going into this game tonight, negative 20.6 net rating and overall.
Again, they played Washington in one of those games.
Yeah.
Washington is not a good defense. Like, I'm sorry to Washington fans, like, but I think they understand that going into this year. They have a million young guys, and I know that Keefe is like really trying to preach, some defensive cohesion and everything, but like they're just so young that it's going to be really, really hard to defend on a real level throughout the course of the season. So for it to be 50% of your games against the Washington Wizards defensively, and you have a 95 offensive rating, is kind of bonkers to me.
Bottom 5 in the league in turnover percentage. It's just not good. And the thing is, other than Gafford, their rotation has played these two games, other than, of course, Kyrie Irving. But they've known for months now that Kyrie Irving was not going to be on this team for the very least the start of the year and through the majority of it. So you can't say you were surprised or you didn't anticipate this, and not having, and if your only plan was, well, we're just going to let Cooper do it and have no plan B, that's a bad plan. That's not a real plan, because there was always a world where giving Cooper this leash, I understand, but not having another idea and plan to go to when it's struggling and not working is not okay. You have to have the plan B. You had to know that we talk about young ball handlers struggling all the time, Sam. Cooper is extremely young, like barely old enough to have been in this draft, and wasn't even a primary initiator growing up throughout his life like some of these guys. And so to then put him into the NBA and say, hey, go create shots for this team where spacing's a question because all these guys are playing out of position. Again, I'm cool if this is what you think gets Cooper to his ceiling as an individual player, but not having some other capacity, running interesting sets, whatever it is, to create and generate some real offense is not okay. And maybe, like you said, maybe when we record on Wednesday, we'll be singing different, but through 2 games, it has not been good.
Yeah, it's been rough. And I do want to call out the second half against the Wizards. I thought Cooper got loose and looked pretty good, honestly. It's funny. Everyone is melting down about Cooper, and, it's been really hard for him to this point because, he's shooting 37% from the field and 33% from 3. And you look at some of the other guys who have just been more efficient and have gotten better opportunities, but he's still averaging 14, 7.5 and 3. And he's 18 years old. He's younger than all of these guys and is still contributing in a real way. It's just that it's hard. It feels like everything that he has to do is very hard right now.
Yep.
They're going to have to, I think that my take is they're just going to have to shake this thing up at some point. And the question will be at that point, is it worth letting Nico Harrison be the one that does it?
Sure.
Okay. Bryce, you are up with your third and final takeaway.
I mean, can we get through the first week and not talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending NBA champs, and 3-0 with some exciting wins? But I don't want to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder as a team, Sam. I want to talk about the most improved player in the NBA through the first week of the season, Ajay Mitchell, who is averaging almost 19 points a game for the defending champs, 47% from the field, 42% from 3, perfect from the free throw line, grabs 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, doesn't turn it over, and has played 27 minutes a night. He has been incredible through the first part of this season for the Thunder. Looks like a mainstay in that rotation. We actually talked about this in the offseason when we talked about potential somebody asked us about potential second draft trade candidates. And I brought up Nikola Topic, and it wasn't because of Topic not being a good basketball player. We have no idea because he tore his ACL and now he's dealing with a very sensitive injury to start this season. But we just don't know. But it was Ajay Mitchell is so good that maybe Oklahoma City decides to push that down the road. He has no fear. He plays just extremely hard, does all the little things, and right now he's making shots. So I wanted to give some love to Ajay Mitchell here, who right now, I think if most improved player voting happened today, he would win the award.
I think you should, at least. And to me, it's, we talked about this a little bit when we did the opening night thing, right? It's his cutting, the ability to play off the ball, his overall IQ fits so well with what they want to do and how they want to operate and how they want to look at things. He can play next to Shea. He can play as the primary point guard. When J-Dub comes back, it'll be the same. He can play with both Shea and J-Dub, or he can play with one of them. He can play with none of them, I think, if they want to give both those guys a rest, right? Now, do I think the offense would look great if it was AJ, Kaysen, Dort, Chet, and Caruso, or Aaron Wiggins, or whoever you want to put out there? Maybe not. It would probably sputter along a little bit more than what we would like to see from, an Oklahoma City team. But I think that they could survive those minutes, which is pretty real. And it's a real credit to what AJ has brought to the table. Obviously can shoot the ball. has always had like a very confident, capable finishing game where he is able to like utilize his footwork, his slow steps, his deceleration to be able to get that little bit of separation, totally fearless driving into the rim, will absorb contact and even initiate it from time to time to be able to score in those settings. Awesome floater game as well, as we've seen. Like he just is a very, very special kind of all around offensive player that fits next to just about anybody you want to put next to him. And I think that's why he is so valuable. And look, Bryce, like, you know, obviously I've been thinking about like most valuable contracts in the league just because we got through a lot of, you know, recent extensions and everything. And we've talked about Kamara, like that immediately enters that fold. But I mean, dude, like Ajay Mitchell is $3 million this year, 2.8 million the next year, and then 2.8 million the following year. It's only 1.5 million guaranteed next year if they wanted to do something wild. But then they have a team option on the third year. At least for the next 2 years, Ajay Mitchell is going to be making less than $6 million. And that's going to be just immediately one of the most valuable contracts in the league. And if they want to keep AJ on that $2.8 million deal for the fourth year of his career, third year of this contract, because they're way up, you know, above the second apron potentially, even though I think that they actually salary wise can stay right below it if they want to be. But like they have the flexibility if they want to like keep AJ on that really, really cheap deal and let him hit unrestricted free agency and just see what happens. Or they can extend him after the third year, kind of like we saw with Kamara, like we saw with Andrew Nemhard, and say, no, like this guy's a long-term piece of our core. You know, we're locking him in at whatever the number will be at that point. You know, he has immediately become, to me, one of the most valuable, like non-star assets in the league because of that contract.
Yeah, I was reading my scout notes on him before the draft, and it's a lot of what you talked about. Like, is he a true primary creator? Is he a combo guard? Is he a second side creator with the free throw and 3-point percentages? You know, all of that. It's like, the answer is looks like yes, he is all of those things. And sometimes when you're scouting a player like that, it makes you a little bit nervous because it's, what is the role? Is a team going to see him and go, well, he's not a primary creator, but do we fully trust the 3-point shooting? Okay, we don't know. But if he can do both, which is what, as you outlined, he can do with Oklahoma City, where he plays perfectly off your stars in Shea and J-Dub. But if you're missing one of your stars, like Oklahoma City has to start the season, he can not only play off of Shea, but he can primary initiate in the non-Shea minutes with J-Dub injured. It actually just ends up being very, very valuable. So I just think he's done an incredible job. Obviously, Oklahoma City's off to the 3-0 start with some really, really fun games. Chet's been incredible. You know, you mentioned his scoring. He's averaging 25 and 10 right now. Shea's averaging 40. Aaron Wiggins has had some huge moments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Lou Dort's not even shooting the ball well right now, and they're still here. Shea's not shooting well from three either, but I wanted to, because we're going to talk about the Thunder a lot this year, I assume. We'll talk about Chet a lot, like all of that. I wanted to, while we had the focus and while he, I think, very much deserves it, shine some light on Ajay Mitchell and the way he's performed thus far.
Yeah, completely agree. And look, like the Thunder are 3-0. They've won 2 road games, which is always good. Like, take care of business on the road. They've beaten the Rockets now as well. The schedule has not been easy. It does ease up here for their next 4, where they play Dallas, Sacramento, Washington, New Orleans. I would expect that they get to 7-0. And then they have a nice, like long road trip here coming up where it's the Clippers, Portland, Sacramento, Memphis, all on the road. Then they have Golden State and the Lakers at home. And then they go out again to Charlotte and New Orleans on the road. So like, these next 4, I would expect they get these next 4, especially given the way Dallas looks right now. But, you know, after that, we will start to get a few more tests like we've seen early in the season. That Rockets game was an incredible test so far for Oklahoma City. And look, like the Rockets are 0-2, but I don't know anybody that would be writing them off based off of, the way they've played. Obviously the Pistons game didn't go quite as well as I think they would have hoped, but do you have any, just while we're here, do you have any thoughts on the Rockets with that Pistons game? Because I think it was like a little bit more disheartening than the Oklahoma City game at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the Pistons had a disappointing opening night, and obviously the Rockets, as you mentioned, were coming off the Thunder game. I was nervous that Detroit was just going to get destroyed in that game, quite frankly. Şengün just wasn't great, I felt like, in that game. Scoring the basketball. Durant was incredible.
Unbelievable.
He had a huge scoring night. It's a unique team with their lineup constructions and all of that. I think that they're probably still trying to figure some of those things out. So, Detroit is a very scrappy team. They ended up winning, this Boston game today after getting down by, I think, 20 plus or close to it in the first quarter, like just an afternoon game Sunday afternoon didn't look like they were ready from the jump, and then came out and, fought their way back and ended up winning. So I think Detroit's still a very formidable team, even with the injuries they're dealing with. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out Houston. They're gonna destroy the offensive boards, and that's what Steven Adams does, is about as good as anybody. Still trying to decide where I'm at on the Reed Shepherd stuff. I think Houston's a team I want some more data and some more sample size before I go too far with some of my thoughts.
Honestly, the Pistons game worried me more with Reed than the Oklahoma City game. He felt fairly unplayable to me in the Detroit game. Not to say that he'll be unplayable into the future, but I mean, their minutes were like they lost that game in his minutes, in my opinion. And they're going to have to make a choice here, probably after the first 10 games. That's the window I've kind of said, but they're going to have to make a choice after these first 10 games. Like, can we live with this right now? Can we live through the growing pains? Because he's going to have a monster game in those first 10 games. And it's going to be like, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been looking for. But the key for Reed right now is he has to be so good on offense that he overcomes the defensive liabilities that he brings to the table. And I've seen people like try to make the case that, oh no, like you can devise a scheme defensively around him. Like he's so good with his hands. He's so good with like his anticipation. The problem is that teams are so good at being able to attack certain players on the ball if they want to defensively, that, like Tyrese Halliburton, for instance, got way better on the ball defensively to where he no longer just got like rolled over, right? I'm not sitting here saying that Tyrese is some like stud on ball defender. I'm just saying that like he held up in moments where he needed to some of the time. I don't feel like Reed is holding up really at all. And then on top of it, like the off-ball stuff defensively, if you get him, where he has to tag a roller and then get out to the 3-point line, he just has like zero margin for error there because of how small he is, even with the anticipation. So, he's kind of playing a guessing game a little bit of the time, and he'll get it right sometimes, but then other times he's going to get it wrong. He's so small and he kind of has to guess. So it's hard. I think the Reed thing is very, very hard.
When we talk about kind of having a scheme that protects a player defensively, the first guys I think of are Curry and Halliburton. Curry for multiple years now, and then Halliburton, I thought, really honed into it last year. There's just a different level of offensive value to Steph Curry and Tyrese Halliburton than there is Reed Shepherd. I mean, even if you think Reed has high-end offensive outcomes, right now on this team, Kevin Durant's the number one option. Şengün is the number two option. Amin is going to have the ball in his hands and be more of an all-around option than Reed Shepherd. Like you can't be building a defensive scheme to protect your guard off the bench. Like I think there's something fundamentally wrong with having to do that. And with like Steph, it's like he's learned to be very good hard hedging and recovering from ball screens. Teams will try to bring him into the action, and he's really good stepping out, hard hedging, recovering. Tyrese, I thought, did a really good job of that. When teams would try to attack him in the playoffs, he would hard hedge, he'd get back, and then he had these really active hands. Like he did it by using his length to get deflections, and like you could do that stuff with Reed, but I don't know. Like, I just don't see Houston going, hey, he's so good offensively. He's such a huge option for us that we're going to defend everything a certain way when Reed's on the floor, and then we can defend it a completely different way when he's not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. Okay. Bryce, we're out of here in an hour 20. Look at us.
Efficient.
Look at us. Just efficient podcasting. We're doing great here. We're trying hard. Did you have a nice weekend? Like, was it?
I did. We got a win on Friday night, and went out to eat with my parents and my kids last night. And yeah, no, it was good. I had a 4-day. We had parent teacher conferences on Thursday. That's why I didn't join the podcast. So I had a day off Friday, but we had a pretty long road trip. So for the game, but yeah, it was a good weekend. Things are starting to really cool down here in Kansas. I assume the opposite for you on the other end of the globe. So deep fall starting to turn to winter over the next month. I think I have our first freeze coming in the next couple of days here in Western Kansas.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, honestly, there's a non-zero chance it's warmer where you are right now than where it is with me.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird. Like we're like in that transitional period where we've had like a couple of days that have been like 70, and like today I walked to the gym and it was like 45 degrees this morning. So I was like, oh, this is kind of bizarre, but it happens, right? My wife and I, we went to dinner with her parents, which was great. They cooked spaghetti. It was amazing. And then we went to see one battle after another. I saw it for the second time. They saw it for the first time. One battle after another. Folks, even better the second time. For all of the lunatics, haters, and punk trash out there, even better the second time, because my God, is that a fun movie to watch. It's even funnier, I think, the second time. I would recommend it. It's 2.5 hours, Bryce. You're never going to watch this movie.
I looked it up. No, thanks.
Yeah, it's a delight. It is a glorious, glorious time at cinema. I might, if I can get through enough games today, I have like a schedule of like 4 games I really want to get through. I might go see the Springsteen movie, which I don't know. Do you do those like musical biopics? Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever heard a Bruce Springsteen song?
Yeah. I mean, if you offered me $1 million, I'm not sure I could like confidently tell you off the top of my head. Oh yeah, no, I definitely would not have got any. Born in the
Born
USA.
to Run is like a good one. Born in the USA. Yeah. Like they're trying to think of like the big ones. Like those are the 2 ones that immediately come to my mind. I guarantee you've heard them before.
Yeah. Probably just don't know the name, but like I obviously know like the name Bruce Springsteen. So
yeah. So okay, that's what we got. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky. I got the Motor City Hoops Substack going. So if you're a Celtics fan that watched that game today, on Sunday between Detroit and Boston, I'll have something over there on the Substack, some game notes. It includes notes on the Celtics, obviously the Game Theory Substack, where I provide some video breakdowns here and there, Pistons Pulse podcast, and of course, right here, Game Theory podcast with the Sam Vecenie.
Yeah, I need to do a better job of promoting the Substack early on in the show. GameTheorySamV.substack.com. Go over there. Really, really good, fun stuff that we have every single, it's felt like every day in the early part of the season. Tomorrow, I will have something probably on Jacob Furphy. It's one for me here. Sorry, guys. Like, let's just be honest. Other times there will be ones for you. Please ask. I will. If you are a Substack subscriber, I promise you, I will absolutely listen to your requests. But sometimes I got to do one for me, and Jacob Furphy is absolutely one for me. I will probably do this Dylan Harper game from today because I thought it was really fun and really enjoyable, and just kind of seeing his process and watching him kind of like wipe out Jaeger Demon was pretty fun to me. Not because I dislike Jaeger, just because it was so impressive from Dylan on both ends of the court. But gametheorysamv.substack.com, gametheorysamv.substack.com. Go there. Bryce and I will have videos up regularly. I still have a few draft videos. I know Quaintance will go up at some point. So that's one that I think people have been looking forward to as well. Yeah, go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. We're closing in on 80,000 YouTube subscribers, which is just a wild number. We appreciate you guys immensely. Since we've been going to like non-live, the videos have gone through the roof in terms of viewership. We appreciate you guys for coming in and hanging out and discovering the show as well. It feels like that has kind of allowed us to get into the algorithm a little bit more. So we appreciate you guys so much for kind of hanging out, hopefully hitting the subscribe button. If you like what you see, do hit that subscribe button over on YouTube. But that's where we're at. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.